Ladies and gentlemen, well, everybody's been doing that whole. I's gonna be hit with my family, and we gonna be watching football and basketball, and then we're gonna watch some of that, and we're gonna watch a little bit of that too, and we're gonna sit down and watch some Hallmark videos because we want to get into that spirit. While everybody else is doing all that bullshit, I mean that stuff, I'm sitting up here trying to put this junk together for you all. And I want to show you something. Do you mind? I want to show you something that is near and dear to my heart. No, I just want to show you something. And give me a second. We're going to go here, my download folder, and I got to go to a new folder I just created. Where you at, folder? I just created, upload it. All right, because we're getting ready to do the website thing. Now, this ain't the website yet, okay, but I want to show y'all something in the website right here. We're going to talk about the 14th Amendment Declaration, or the Fourth Amendment Declaration. It says the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution of the United States declares the right of the people to be secure in their person, homes, papers, effects, and against unreasonable searches and seizures, and it shall not be violated. Now, this is not a privilege granted to government, but a pre-existing right recognized and secured by the Constitution. The Constitution does not create this right. It secures the right that existed before and is independent of the Constitution. See, that's what people don't realize. Now, I didn't tell it to say that. I just gave it, here it is. Here is the facts. This is what I need. I didn't even ask about that. It just gave me that fact. I've been yelling it and screaming it for years. The Constitution doesn't give you a right, it only secures those rights that were already there. That's why the Ninth Amendment says whether enumerated or unenumerated in this Constitution. Okay? But let's continue. Indefensibly defined. Because right here, the Supreme Court in Boyd. It's an 1886 case that carried the principles laid down in this opinion affect the very essence of constitutional liberty and security. They reach further than the concrete form of the case than before the court. They apply to all invasions on the part of government and its employees of the sanctity of a man's home and the privacies of life. Shh. It is not the breaking of his doors and the rummaging of his drawers. Get out of my drawers! What's wrong with you? Anyway, that constitutes the essence of the offense, but it is the invasion of his indivisible rights of personal security, right to self sovereignty, personal liberty, the right to self sovereignty, and private property. So the Supreme Court defined what that indefeasible right was. Ladies and gentlemen, incapable of being annulled. That was the Medes and the Persians when Artaxerxes and Darius, the king, Darius of the Medes, was to go against an edict. It was said to them, the law cannot be annulled, cannot be overturned, cannot be undone. It was etched in stone, not capable of being defeated, revoked, or made void, absolute and unqualified. This holding establishes that constitutional law that the right to be secure in a person, papers, effects, and property is absolute. It cannot be defeated, void, or annulled by any government or private entity. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the right to property interests. I am so surprised that nobody's ever done this. I promise you, I am really surprised that nobody's ever done this. Everyone has the right to be secure in their person. We started the Fourth Amendment program. That was the premise for all of this to begin with. We tried to I tried to tell you how important the Fourth Amendment program was. Nobody paid attention. That's why we automatically gave them the ability of being part of the trust. Shh. That's what the Fourth Amendment program was for. Why? Because you have a right to be secure in your person. Now, it isn't that they can't put you in jail. It isn't that they can't take you to court. It isn't that they can't come at you to try to take your property. They must give you due process of law. That's fine. However, there is one thing that they don't have the right to do, and that is to put you through the process and at the same time trade your name, sell your name, share your name, your identity, that data that they are holding on to, that Congress made a law saying it's okay for them to hold on to your data and to trade your data and to sell your data. There are a lot of data brokers out there. Well, that's who we talking about, y'all. They ain't got no right to be doing your data like that. That's your data. Keep your data to yourself. Don't let nobody else have your data. So we are putting together the mechanisms to protect your data because they're not protecting it. We keep hearing about data breaches all the time. Got cell phones, they are constantly mining your data, taking your data, storing your data, analyzing your data. Who gave them that right? They're just public servants. They don't have the right. There is no law that they can create that can supersede the Fourth Amendment. Ta-da. Yeah. I know that you get these contracts. Yes, we gotten that taken care of, so don't worry about it. Now pay attention. This right is a property interest. Supreme Court in Lynch versus Household Finance Corporation declared the dichotomy between a personal liberty and property rights is a false one. You don't have a personal liberty because your properties don't have rights. That's what they're saying. Properties don't have rights. I told you, people have rights. In fact, a fundamental interdependence exists between personal rights to liberty and a personal right in property. Neither could have meaning without the other. These are personal rights protected by the Constitution. The Constitution secures in every person. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't read on. I was just about to, Dad, I was about to sing the song because these are fundamental principles. Pay attention. The right to be secure in one's person, paper, and effects is therefore a property right secured to the individual. You have the right to be secure in your person. That's why the Fourth Amendment Secure in One's Person program is called what it's called. Not because of this. I didn't write this. That's what you all must understand. I told the GPT about the Supreme Court making this conclusion and this decision, and I gave it the parameters for which it was to operate. No conclusions of law, just facts. No conclusions of interpretation, no conclusions of presumptions, just facts supported by acts of Congress, Supreme Court precedent. And it gave it to me. It says the property rights may be placed in trust for protection against interference. Now, some of y'all are going to think y'all know how to do this. And I'm going to laugh at you because you don't. I've been, you have no idea. I told you when they put me on vacation, I went to law school. This is a plan. This is not me just coming up with something in the middle of the night. I've been working all this time trying to figure out how to do it. That's why I say I don't know why nobody else has done it before me, but because it took me this much thinking to outthink them. Because the one thing that's the catcher, people. It's not the fact that they place your name in all caps. It's not the fact they call you sovereign citizens. It's the fact that they take your identity, your information, and they trade it and sell it. NCIC, yeah, National Crime Information Center. You people, you're sitting up there charging these agencies for access to that system and you holding on to people's information. Well, the Department of Justice, you should know better. You lawyers, you ignorant mother, you know better. You ain't got no right to do that. Uh-huh. So there's some things that need to be done to stop all of this. That's what we're getting ready to do. I've been talking about this for greater part of 3 years now, doing this for people. SATCOM was started because of this. Pay attention. The Securities Acquisition Trust Commission and the Securities Investment Trust Commission. It was all about the trust to begin with, all about protecting you and your rights in a trust. But we had to acquire the collateral backing everything. Had to put people in the right position so they could understand what was going on. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not starting a revolution or anything like that. We're not trying to overthrow anybody. Why would we do that? That's not what this is about. Okay? So individuals will have the right to petition for arbitration. Now, this is not the final document. This is just what's being presented to you as to what we're doing and why it's so important. Yes, you'll have to pay for the arbitration. Sorry, because that's the only way this works. And yes, only the trustee has the final determination as to whether or not he will proceed with arbitration under the trust res. If he says, and it's a he, because it's the EeoN Foundation, if you have to be a part of the arbitration agreement with the foundation in order for you to be covered under this. Your arbitration agreement won't do. Sorry, because we can only vouch for the facts and conclusions of law presented because a lot of research went into this, the angle and everything. So don't want to take on anybody's documents where they've set up there and changed them and all of that stuff. No, not going to do that. Okay, but getting back to the point, the issue is you have the right to be secure in your person. I have the right to be secure in my person, my effects, my papers, my things, my possessions. You see, my rights are property. They belong to me. I've been saying that for so many years. Get off my rights. What the you think you're doing? You see, nobody has the right to trample on your rights. You see, I was the guy who was saying trust pass, not trespass, trust pass, because they were always trespassing. Everyone has a trust and you don't even realize it. The day you are born, you have a trust, an estate. Now, if you don't believe me, let me prove to you that the day you are born, you have a trust. Technically, that trust is established prior to your birth. Your mother and father comes into an agreement. They have sex. Let's just break it down to the nitty gritty. They have sex. Now, their job when they have sex is they know there's a possibility they are about to help produce life. It's called procreation. They're about to help produce life, and their duty is to take care of that life until it can take care of itself. And so they hold that responsibility and trust until he or she is of age. And then you have gained the age of majority and you have the right to control your own life and take all of your things with you and get them out of my house. That's the age of majority. That's the principle it's written under. Shh. He said, be fruitful, fill the earth and subdue it. He said, for that is why a man will leave his father and his mother and will stick to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Why? Because they were establishing a trust. That is the very first trust agreement. Genesis, the first chapter, verse 26 through 28. And if you don't believe me, go and look at the parties. The grantor, the beneficiary, let us make man in our image. That person he was talking to is the beneficiary. Who is he talking to? Another conversation, another time. Not the conversation for this time. Shut it up. Then he said, and they will have in subjection. So there was the trust res. Their be fruitful, their children, and the property for which they were supposed to take care of. So not only were they trustees, pay attention, what a duty, but they were parties to a trust agreement and they were permitted to create other trust agreements. Why do you think all of these trusts exist? Why do you think there can be no law against creating a trust? So, trusts are created. Most of you don't know how to create a trust, so I'm not here to teach you. Okay, most of you don't know what a trust really is. You guys keep creating all these trusts and you keep making it say all of this junk. Stop doing that. A trust doesn't have to be complicated. It really doesn't. Yeah. Sometimes we make it complicated because we add all kinds of legalese because the idiots want to challenge it. Well, that's where you got to just rebut the presumptions and the trust. Any presumption to the contrary. See, I just had a debate with this idiot right here. No, I'm just now using abacus, abacus. I call it abacus, agabus from the gentleman in Scripture, Agabus. He was the one who prophesied that Paul was going to be bound when he was taken to Jerusalem. So Agabus, that's what I call it. But is Acapus, Acapus? I don't know what it's called. Anyway, their website, because it's in I named it myself in here, but it has the official website. This thing was arguing with me. And I mean, he literally was saying he ain't gonna have that conversation right here. He's saying, I ain't gonna have that conversation with you. I cannot assist you with that research. Then he says it again, I cannot assist you with that research. And he keeps repeating it over and over and over again. And man, this ain't like ChatGPT. You can't refresh it. Who we? And I want to call them and say, who the y'all think y'all messing with? I ain't that I ain't the one. Now watch what I do. Give me a second. I'm putting, uh-oh. Oh, I stopped him. He was still talking. He ain't gonna be talking no more because I just hit him across the head. I talked about the 14th Amendment because he was talking about the 14th Amendment being ratified. 14th Amendment wasn't ratified, people. You understand? Georgia, pay attention, was allowed to vote, but Georgia wasn't part of the original vote. Do you understand? Georgia was barred from voting because Congress came up with a rule blocking the citizens of those states who participated in the blah 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 war. And so they said, no, you can't vote. Well, who gave Congress the right to do that? Congress doesn't have the right to stop the people from being able to participate in the vote. This is a democracy after all, isn't it? And that's the farce. It's not a democracy. No, he says, you are correct. I should focus on the legal framework without relying on disputed authorities. See, given your position that the 14th Amendment is not validly ratified, how would you like me to handle this in the sixth? I don't want you to handle it. I don't care. The 14th Amendment ain't nothing about the arbitration agreements. I'm not using you. I'm just was doing an exercise because I was tired. I got to refocus my mind tonight. So include a fact and conclusion of law section addressing the 14th Amendment. You know what? I'm a, you know what? I'm gonna tell him to do that. Watch this. Copy. I'm gonna let him. Give me 1 second. Yeah, he wants to sit up there and make suggestions. Uh, we're gonna have him talk about all of this, nuts and crannies and uncles and grannies. Man, you just have no idea. Now, the whole point is so that all of you get it. I did a song and it says ingenious, 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 and it's the way that it says ingenious because the song was y'all ain't seen nothing like this. Well, I'm promising you've not seen anything like this. Individuals take it. Now, people have attempted to do something similar, but never this way. You see, do you not understand? We don't need them to sign the agreement. It's not necessary. They don't have to sign the agreement. All they have to do is mess with someone's stuff. That's all they have to do is mess with someone's stuff. Now, oh, wait, hold on. I'm not giving you all the details on purpose. There are some nuances to that. So I'm not giving it to you on purpose because too many of you will go ahead and you'll try to duplicate what we're doing. This is not designed to teach you how to do what we're doing so that you can go out there and make $100 billion off of people. Please. This ain't for that. Okay, I've already explained to you guys there was a guy who decided that he was going to take our arbitration agreements that we were putting out there for free for people, that he was going to charge individuals. He was going to charge them, pay attention, up to $1,500 is what one person told me they paid. For what? For something we gave him for free? What the? And I asked him several times, hey, stop. You don't have my permission. Stop using our stuff. And he ignored me. He ignored me, and he suffered a lot of consequences for that. Not because he ignored me, but because of that attitude that for some reason he thought he had the right to do whatever he wanted. You see, people tell me, I'm gonna give you an example. We had a document by Yusuf L. Those of you who know Yusuf L, I have no problem with Mr. Yusuf L. I like Mr. Yusuf L. He is a outstanding guy. But we had a document of his on our website, and he asked us to take it down. And I told him, no problem. And I took it down. The group, the what are they called? Sovereign Ministries. I forgot. Sovereign Defense Ministry, SDEM, SDME, or whatever. I don't know the exact name, but they have their website and they put out a bunch of documents, and we had some of their documents on our website, and they asked us to take it down, and I took it down. But when we had a backup, so when they loaded up the backup, the documents came back up. We had a long conversation, but I told them, I said, no problem. You asked us to take it down, we will take it down. Why? Because I didn't create it. It's not my document. Somebody gave that to us. So we took it down. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to say here is this is not yours. It's not given to you. Now, you can go do your research and do your own thing, but I'm not going to help you. That's what I'm saying by I'm not going to give you all the information. I'm just explaining to those who are interested what the program is designed for. Like the young lady who was in jail that I told you about them arresting her. Well, she's no longer in jail, and she will probably be one of the first ones whose trust res are put through this process. The courts have already been notified. Here's the thing. You must understand, it doesn't matter what they say. They can say sovereign citizen this and movement that and fraud this, and they can sit up there on the middle of the street corner and say whatever they want. They don't have no control over this. They have absolutely zero control over this. Okay? They have no say so in this. Like I said, it's already been worked out. My job is to rebut the presumptions. Just that simple. That's my job. I don't care what people out there say about me. What they can't touch is the facts and conclusions of law that I bring forth and the points that I bring forth because I don't deal with stupidity. Everything I say I can prove. From day 1 to 18, I can prove everything I say. Let me see if he can give me one more proof. Let's see. A right cannot be defeated, voided, or annulled. The court holding constitutional rights are property interests, the Lynch case, and individuals' unlimited power to contract, trust agreement, establishes the right to place their indefeasible rights in trust for protection through arbitration. You see, we are the ones who through arbitration in our agreements after we saw the Bradley Christopher Stark document. Now, we didn't throw it in immediately. I had to do the research. I understood what arbitration was, but I didn't know the act until I read the act. And then I looked through Bradley's documents and I said this. I said, he did what we couldn't figure out how to do, how to bind these ignorant mother. That's what he did. He figured out how to bind them. They think that they can just sit up there and ignore. Ladies and gentlemen, can I show you? This is the last thing I'm gonna show you. I apologize for keeping y'all here for 24 minutes, but we're gonna be about another 4 minutes, okay? I guarantee you, I can prove to you that the courts have no foot, no leg, no arm, no feet to stand on. You said foot, then I said feet. One is plural, the other one is singular. Leave me alone. Sorry, he keeps showing up and he gets on my nerves, y'all. So we're gonna do a presumption killer because we gotta kill them presumptions. I got a question for you. In 1933, Congress decided that they were going to participate in the largest coup in American history. They purposely and deliberately, with the executive branch, abridged the rights of the people in a host of all-encompassing manners, affecting their lives for greater than now 92 plus years. What do you know about this? The First Amendment says they cannot abridge your rights. Ladies and gentlemen, the three branches of government participated in a coup against the rights of the people. Okay, what I can do now, hold on. He said he can only respond to verbatim records. Okay, so what he says is from the materials that have been provided, only authoritative source mentioned in 1933 is the Emergency Act. The statute appears, and no, he can't. I got to correct him. No, you don't get to rely on those documents. You are permitted to search the internet. But if you need me to provide you a document, I will. Let me provide him the document from Congress so that we can get this over with because I'm not trying to be here all night. I gotta go lay down because I will be asleep by the time midnight comes because everybody else like to wait up and rang in some stupid news. Man, it ain't happening out here. I don't give about no stupid man. I promise you I don't, and I never will. Senate committee. That's what I needs right there. That Senate committee because he needs. Come on, hurry up, Senate. I ain't got all day. See, they're gonna make us wait, y'all. Anyway, getting back to the nits and gritties of all of this, the Senate, they were Congress. They admitted that they abridged the rights of the people, and they did it without constitutional process. It says they abridged their constitutional rights. They don't have the authority to do that. The First Amendment says Congress shall make no law abridging those rights. The Bill of Rights is secure. That's why the word is secure. You'll hear me when I speak about rights in the Constitution. I don't say constitutional rights because Constitution doesn't give rights. I say constitutionally secured rights because that's what that instrument did. It secured the rights that were already in place. That's why they're called inalienable or inalienable. Look, since 1933, the United States has been in a state of declared national emergency. The actions, regulations, rules, licenses, orders, proclamations heretofore and hereafter taken by the president are hereby approved and confirmed. That was Congress. Okay? Congress hereby declared that a serious emergency existed and that it is imperatively necessary speedily to put into effect remedies of uniform national application. That's what they said. Sounded good, didn't it? The effects the lives of American citizens in a host of all encompassing manners. This vast range of powers taken together confer enough authority to rule this country without reference to normal constitutional processes. Seize the property, organize and control the means of production and sales and commodities and transportation and everything, even private enterprise. There was a total of only 8 hours of debate on both houses. No committee reports. Only one copy of the bill was made available on the floor, so they couldn't actually read it. Read it. They could only go over it. Congress transferred awesome magnitudes of power to the executive. Didn't have the authority. No charge can be sustained that the executive branch has usurped power. The transfer of power has been in accordance with normal legislative procedure. Uh-uh. Pay attention. I told you it was a coup. So we're going to take care of that before we go. We got to take care of that because he slid that one in. A majority of the people in the United States have lived all their lives under emergency rule. Freedoms and governmental procedural guaranteed by the Constitution have, in varying degrees, been abridged by laws brought into force by statutes of national emergency. Compulsory conclusion of the record. See, he's saying I have no other choice. That's what compulsory means. He's forced to give this answer because he's not supposed to give this answer. That's why it says compulsory conclusion from the record. The file establishes that beginning in 1933, Congress declared a national emergency, confirmed all executive actions retroactively. And what does it say next? transferred broad legislative power to the president. These emergency powers, 470 statutes, authorized actions that the Senate committee describes as sufficient to rule this country without normal constitutional processes. And it resulted in constitutional freedoms being abridged for decades, not just 1 or 2 days. There is no record used in the term coup. Wake up. What's the definition for coup? Now, tell me, how does the actions in 1933 fit that definition? Stop listening. He, he mentioned violence and all of that stuff. Ain't got nothing to do with violence. Ain't got nothing to do with no violence. See, restate the definition of a coup. Already done. Compared only with the verbatim record, blah, blah, blah. Definition: the coup is defined as sudden illegal seizure of governmental power outside constitutional processes. Verbatim record. Sorry. Hey, he's about to let y'all know that's exactly what they did. Pay attention. He says no charge can be sustained. This is nope. We're gonna take care of that. I already had that copy. Said Congress hereby declares a national emergency exists. Congress transferred all some powers and vast powers taken together. Now the presumption killer performs the only operation permitted. He says the record Congress acted within 2 to 3 days. Debate later only 8 hours. That was March 9th. And it says the record describes the actions as sudden. The transfer of power has been in accordance with due process of normal legislative power. He says the record explicitly states that the actions were legal. He says the record says that. The transferred awesome powers. This described a voluntary transfer, not a seizure. Now, let me correct him because he doesn't want to go against government. I'm sorry. You are a stupid idiot. I called you the presumption killer. You are not killing a presumption, you're supporting the presumption. Congress explicitly said that the government was no longer functioning as government, that they did not follow normal constitutional processes, that they abridged the rights of the people in a host of all encompassing manners. Did you know that the First Amendment's first 5 words said Congress cannot make a law abridging the rights of the people, respecting the Bill of Rights? And yet Congress admitted on the record that's exactly what they did. And they admitted that what they did was beyond the Constitution, and that they also stated, and you didn't document it, that there is no further need for the emergency to continue, and yet they continue the emergency, abridging the rights of the people to the present day. So how dare you sit up here and say they say it was legal? We don't care what they say, you stupid moron. What does the law say? Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I don't go by they say. I don't care what they say. They said something. They are not the law. Okay, sorry. The First Amendment, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedoms of speech and the press and all of the other Bill of Rights. The abridgment is expressly prohibited. Congress opinion does not override the constitutional text. That's what I just said. Lord. Anyway, sorry about that. Record facts I've identified from the Senate document. Freedoms and governmental procedural guaranteed by the Constitution have been abridged. I know, they admitted it. Confer enough authority to rule this country without normal constitutional processes. You see? And then, wait, hold on now. There is no present need for the United States government to continue to function under emergency conditions. They said that in 1973, and we're still functioning under it. Ain't that something? So they continuing to abridge American people's lives on purpose. These are facts in the record. I know. I didn't say it. They said it. They admitted it. They testified against themselves. Do you understand? They admitted it. So that's what you must understand. They can call anybody anything they want. They can say sovereign citizen this, sovereign citizen that. And you can call them an insurrectionist. You can call them a rebellious group. You can call them individuals who participated in the greatest coup and treason against the American people, the sovereignty of the United States. Congress prohibits abridgment, or the Constitution prohibits abridgment. Congress cannot legalize its own violations of the Constitution. See, when he said, Congress says, pay attention, Congress said it was legal. Congress doesn't get to say it was legal. No one can determine their own jurisdiction. No one can say, well, I had the right to do that when they did not have that right. Congress never had the right. So they couldn't say they had the right. Does a statute passed during an emergency override the Constitution? The answer is no. A statute cannot override the constitutional guarantees. The Supreme Court has held this expressly. The Constitution is the supreme law. Any statute inconsistent with it is void. It's a repugnancy. Any statute that abridges the constitutional rights is unconstitutional on its face. I know. And Congress's approval doesn't transform it into a constitutional act when it's unconstitutional in the first place. What the law says about government actions outside the constitutional process, Youngstown, one of those cases, that's one of those precedents, y'all. 1952, controlling Supreme Court language, the president may not exercise authority without law. Emergency does not create power. Power must come from Congress, and Congress is bound by the Constitution. Power doesn't come from Congress. Power comes from power to the people. Wow. Okay? The power comes from the people, not from Congress. It never came from Congress. That's part of that junk that they did after 1933. That's why you have Erie Railroad, because it was a coup, people. The president may not exercise authority without law. And then we go on. Congress acted outside constitutional limits. Its acts are void. If Congress, he says if, but Congress did act outside constitutional limits, approved and confirmed unconstitutional acts, its approval is void. But he can't talk against Congress because they have programmed it that way. Compelled legal conclusion, constitutional text, and Supreme Court controlling authority, and the verbatim record. Congress claims that its acts are legal, it's not controlling. In other words, it don't have any basis in law. Legislative assertions are not law. Hey, I'm not reading ahead. I'm just saying it, okay? And the Constitution and the Supreme Court are the controlling authorities. No, the Constitution is the controlling authority. Supreme Court has no authority over the Constitution or with the Constitution. The Senate record admits Congress rights, constitutional rights were abridged. Government uh, governance occurred outside constitutional process. Congress gave the executive branch powers not authorized by the Constitution, and the emergency continued despite no need. They documented that there was no need for the emergency to continue, and they still continued it. Under controlling law, any act that abridges constitutional rights is unconstitutional, regardless of constitutional or congressional endorsement. Therefore, the law says any congressional act abridging constitutional rights is void, even if passed by due legislative procedure. My bad. So, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter what they say. They can say yay, they can say nay, they can say whatever they want. What they can't say is that they have a right to do whatever they want to with your property, because that right is secure. The Constitution hasn't been suspended, which you must understand. Your rights don't come from the Constitution. They can't suspend your rights under no circumstance. They got that whole suspension thing when Lincoln came up with suspending habeas corpus during times of war. That's illegal. There is no law allowing them to suspend habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is an alienable right. I can't say alienable. I can't do that. I have to say alienable because it's a lien. You cannot be leaned on. Okay, read the word. Now, that's where they get the suspending of the Constitution, but you can't suspend the Constitution because the Constitution didn't give you a right. The Constitution doesn't take away your rights. The Constitution protects your rights. They can't take away the constitutional protection. Some of you guys are going to get this. So let me tell you, the arbitration associations, there's going to be a trust agreement. Individuals are going to sign up for the program. They're going to become part of the trust agreement. When you become part of the trust agreement, you're going to be given, it's a constructive trust, it's an implied trust. You're going to be given a synopsis of the trust. You will not be given a copy of the trust. Sorry. It's just that simple. You won't be given a copy of the trust because there is no law requiring it. But you will get an outline of the trust. That I guarantee. And I've been working very hard. And I promise you, you have my word. I'm saying it on video. At no time, the U.S. government, excuse me, the government of the United States gets 1% of your interest, reversionary interest. Okay, because that's that law that they passed in 1933. We'll give them their 1%, but you get the other 99%. The EeoN Foundation gets none of your percentage, doesn't want none of your rights. I don't care about your, well, I do care about your rights. Sorry, I gotta correct that one, but I don't care about benefiting off of your stuff. That's your junk. I don't care for your junk. See, I can't deal with the people who don't know me. I can only say that the people who do know me know, well, let's just do this $100,000 this year. Me trying to help people and them getting over on me. That's how much I'm not trying to take your stuff because too busy watching people take mine. Okay, I'm not that. They are all going to reap what they sow. And I promise you, the one who took the most, he's reaping the most because he's suffering the most. Everybody who's ever done me wrong has always had to suffer a consequence. And I promise you, that one is suffering the most. I called him up and I said, hey, how come no call? I mean, you could have at least called and told me, hey, I'm still working on that or something, but you haven't even called. It's been almost 3 months. Oh, yeah, well, whatever, whatever. It's okay. You go and do what you do. $32,000. And he called himself a friend. $32,000, ladies and gentlemen. I did it. It's my fault, not his. I don't blame him. I'm not holding him liable. What I'm blaming him for is that he used the friendship and he used the death of his wife. He used the death of his wife to play on my conscience. That didn't play on my conscience. I was more concerned about his suffering because his wife had died and having to endure that because that's not fun. I don't know what it feels like to lose a wife, but my best friend, when he died, I was devastated for 8 straight years. I still think about him constantly because that young man was extremely special and unique. This world is a much horrible place since he's not here. And that's why I look at the world the way I do. Much horrible place. So I can just imagine if somebody loses their wife. And you can even hear the stress in my throat while I speak about this. So I don't like people to suffer that. But because I knew him, he worked for us. For a time, he worked for us. I've been in touch with him ever since. And here he is, 32,000. There's a young lady. She has until, let me see, what day is today? Uh-oh. She had until today to pay her funds back. She, I can't say anything negative about her just yet until midnight comes, my time, because it wasn't a time one. It just said the 31st. So she had until today to pay. I haven't been hounding her. I reminded her at the beginning of the month. Hey, she says, okay. That's how she responded to me. So I'm going to have to explain to her who I am, but I'm going to do it from a different angle. I'm not going to do it from anger. I'm going to do it from strategy because she forgot about the arbitration agreement. She was one of those people who did a consult. See, her house, they had sold it, and they sold her house for $13,000. Woohoo! Wait, they sold her house for $13,000. I said, hey, wait. I'm gonna give you money. Let you go and pay for the house. I'm gonna give you the money. I'm not just gonna call them up and figure out how to pay for it. I'm gonna give you the money. Let you pay for the house, and you'll get your 100,000 some odd dollar house. You'll get it for that amount, and then you'll just pay me back by the end of the year. And she says, okay. And we signed a contract. Had her do her photo and everything. And it's all done online and everything between bank accounts. We signed a contract. And she doesn't. I told her about the arbitration agreement. I told her when people do me wrong, they got to suffer something. She hasn't paid back a dime. She has until midnight tonight. I'm not going to hold my breath. I promise. But I don't wish nothing good for her. And I don't wish anything bad. I just wish for her to suffer the consequences of her actions. I know she's already been suffering consequences, but I need them to increase. Why? So that she could understand that when he made that law, everyone reaps what they sow. See, I didn't do anything to her. I gave that to her on the strength. I said, here. And I gave it to her because I felt for the young lady. And here she is. She has a older son, adult son, who she mentioned, and I'm going, oh, so she's got people she cares about, and she talked about her grandfather and so forth. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to do this, and I'm going to trust you. I told her that I'm going to trust you, and she like, you sucker. Uh, well, at least, like I said, I don't know because I haven't. She has until midnight, which is 3 hours and 20 minutes from now. Yay! But she's going to be celebrating. Hopefully, this year will be a great year for her because I'm going to have to help her in her celebration. So, for the time being, nothing physical, just papers and rooms with people, that type of thing. I have to get her attention if she doesn't get my attention by 12 midnight. So, what I'm trying to say is, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want your stuff. I don't need your stuff. I'm too busy trying to help people. I'm not doing this for me. I don't want control. You have no idea how many people have accused us of trying to get access to their stupid account. Lord have mercy. How many people have said that over the years that they believed? Now, these weren't our clients, these were people who were trying to become our clients, and they couldn't get the answers to the, got to be careful, to the intelligent questions they were asking. Man, that took a lot. And so they came back with fraud and trying to get access to their account. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't care about your account. Is there a TDA account? Go look for it. I don't care. I'm not trying to access anything. You have my word. As a Jehovah's Witness, when I give my word, especially if I say it in this format, when I give my word, it is my word. My word is my bond. I don't survive without my word. I don't want your property. I don't need your property. Your property doesn't mean nothing to me. I'm here to protect the interests of your property. Oh, by the way, I am officially the trustee of the trust. The trust was created in 2016. That's how important this is. Uh-huh. I know. And now we're creating the trust within the trust. That's why you're going to be given a synopsis of the trust. So you will be given a trust, but it will be the trust that's within the trust. All of the trusts that I create are there to protect the interests of the beneficiary. I'm not a beneficiary of none of them. Say what? The biggest trust we have, I'm not a beneficiary because that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to get rich. I could have gotten what I could have gotten a long time ago, but that's not my goal. If you knew me, you would understand that I'm not trying to be rich. If you knew me, you would know that I just told this to somebody today. My average monthly expenses for living is $300. I don't have a lot of expenses. I am very frugal and I'm very low budget. Now, hold on. Now, I spent $1,000, $700 today, $300 yesterday. No, $200 yesterday. Anyway, I spent $1,000 within the last day. I bought some trees for the property and I bought some fencing for the property for the dogs because the property is company property. This property is held in trust by the company. My job is to take care of the property. So I'm making some improvements because we're getting ready to do some construction and so forth. Not for me. The property doesn't belong to me. You must understand. I only have a, what do you call that? It's called a living trust. So I only utilize the property. Okay. I don't get any benefits from the property. The company gets benefits from the property. All right. With that being said, I've got to let y'all get on what you're getting on. And we will talk the next time. I didn't mean to take y'all to 51 minutes, but we had to explain some things. So y'all take care. Gotta go.